Kia ora koutou. Welcome to day 3, and today I'm offering a modified yin practice. A little bit about myself. I'm a TCTSY yoga facilitator working with trauma, and I'm offering these sessions for you to maybe practice at home. The forms are all accessible on a chair or the floor, and I'm going to move between both. If you don't have a mat, it's okay. You could use a rug or a towel. Got a little list of things to make sure I've covered everything I need. At any time that you don't feel like doing the practice, you're welcome to stop. So sometimes yoga can bring up emotions, so you're welcome to move into a resting form or stop at any time. Today's practice, the yin part of it, I've got a timer, and there'll be a kind of a sound of a plop every 2 minutes. So if you want to practice using the timer, you can do that. You can practice on the chair or whatever way you like. So I think I've covered all I need in that one. I hope you're doing okay in your bubble, keeping safe and doing okay. So the practice will last about 30 minutes, and then there will be a brief body scan exercise. I'm going to just put the timer on. I'm using my phone as a timer. It's on airplane, so it shouldn't ring. So I'm not quite sure if you can hear that. Maybe if I put it up there. So if you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you are in your space, in your bubble, maybe looking around, perhaps looking behind you, maybe in front, perhaps to your side. And if you like, taking a breath, maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, maybe moving. Possibly noticing a change in sensation where you make contact with the ground, but knowing that it's quite normal not to feel sensation. We usually don't. So if you like, finding a way to sit or kneel on your mat. The first form we're going to start with is sometimes called child form, and I'm going to offer the opportunity to stay in this for 2 minutes. So if you're seated, maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, perhaps your hands to your forehead. And if you're on your mat, maybe sitting back on your ankles and perhaps bringing your forehead to rest on your hands. And breathing. So you might notice that you're breathing. So perhaps in child form, if you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, maybe taking a breath. And then if you like, moving to all fours and possibly exploring cats and cows, maybe dipping your spine, lifting your chin and looking up. Or if you like, curling your spine, tucking your chin and looking down. So you're welcome to put those 2 movements together, maybe looking down, maybe looking up. If you're seated, perhaps bringing your hands to your knees, maybe lengthening your front torso, possibly looking up, And then in your own time, maybe tucking your chin and looking down. And breathing. Maybe looking down. Maybe looking up. And if you wanted to coordinate your thing with your movement, then you're welcome to do that. Maybe breathing in as you move in one direction, perhaps breathing out as you move in the opposite direction. So breathing and moving. Maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Perhaps moving. And then the next form I'm going to offer is sometimes called a push through. So you could do this on your mat on all fours, maybe bring your hands in front, bring your weight to your hands and looking up. Maybe moving back, maybe bring your hands, weight to hands and looking up. Another option could be tucking your toes, lifting your torso and bringing weight to your hands. If you're on your chair, maybe bringing your hands to your knees, perhaps leaning forward and maybe raising your hands. So you're welcome to hold the form or maybe moving and breathing. Perhaps exploring your variation of push through. Guiding yourself back to your neutral, maybe moving into child form, perhaps resting your forehead on your hands. If you're seated, maybe leaning forward, perhaps resting your forehead on your hands and breathing. Now you're always welcome to move. Maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you've made contact with the ground. And then if you like, finding your way to a lunge. So maybe coming to all fours. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe moving. So if you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact, maybe looking, maybe moving. And then in your own time, perhaps moving to kneeling, perhaps stepping one foot forward. And you're welcome to hold in this form until you hear the wood block, if you can hear it. It's a bit of an experiment for me today. You might notice that you're breathing. Ooh. And in your own time, maybe switching, perhaps exploring this on your other side. Maybe exploring a lunge on your other side. I'm sorry I didn't put that here. So if you're on a chair, maybe dropping your knee and breathing. So exploring your expression of a lunge. my timer is a bit crazy. So yes, it seems to be going every minute. So I'm going to stop that and I will count in my own head. So maybe exploring your lunge, if you like, holding for 2 minutes. You're welcome to move. And at any time, you could move into a resting form, perhaps sitting back on your ankles, maybe resting your forehead on your hands. And breathing. If you're resting your forehead on your hands, you're welcome to move. Or, if you like, perhaps extending your arms. So that's a choice. So maybe sitting back on your ankles, perhaps resting your forehead in your hands. Or if you're seated, maybe resting your elbows on your knees. Maybe resting your forehead in your hands. And breathing. Noticing your breath is with you. Then, if you like, finding your way to upright, to your expression of standing or seated mountain. If you like, lifting and lowering your feet, maybe standing tall, perhaps bringing your torso in line with your ankles and arranging your head on your shoulders. If you like, taking a breath. And then if you're interested in folding forward, I will time this for 2 minutes, but you're welcome to move in and out of the form. So maybe bringing your elbows to your knees and perhaps tucking your chin, or maybe your hands to your knees. If you're seated, maybe bringing your elbows to your knees, or maybe your hands further down your legs. So perhaps leaning forward and breathing, knowing at any moment or any time you're welcome to move in and out of the form. So maybe moving, you're always welcome to move your feet, your legs, maybe standing up, perhaps moving to resting and breathing. If you like, possibly moving your knees. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice that you're breathing, that your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. And in your own time, you may like to move to standing, your expression of standing or seated mountain. So maybe moving to standing. And if you're interested in exploring Warrior One, you could do this on a chair, by sitting on the side of your chair, maybe extending your leg, perhaps raising your arm. If you're standing, what you may like to do is perhaps stepping 1 foot behind you. You could have your knees bent or straight, and maybe raising your arms, perhaps arms at your side. And if you like, perhaps holding in this form for a minute, knowing at any time you're welcome to move, perhaps noticing your breath is with you. So maybe holding, maybe moving, and at any time you're welcome to switch or possibly move to a resting form. Perhaps noticing that you're breathing, that your breath is with you, it ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. And when you're ready, perhaps stepping both feet together, maybe standing tall. And if you're interested, perhaps stepping back with your opposite foot. And you're welcome to have your knees bent or straight or moving. And if you like, holding for a minute, maybe extending your arms and breathing. Knowing you're always welcome to move in the form. Perhaps noticing that your breath is with you. And in your own time, finding your way to upright. And if you like, maybe exploring bending your knees. So if you are on a chair, you may like to bend your knees, perhaps holding your knee, or maybe holding both knees. Another option could be to use your chair, maybe bending your knees. And if it's available, you may want to squat, perhaps squatting. And I'm just going to offer a time of a minute. You're welcome to move to seated at any time. So perhaps squatting for a minute, maybe seated, maybe moving in and out of the form and breathing. So perhaps bending your knees. Bending your knees and breathing, maybe bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground or the surface beneath you. And then in your own time, maybe finding your way to a seated form. Maybe finding your expression of seated mountain. And breathing. So in whatever way you are seated, you may like to experiment with folding forward. So if you've got your legs extended or crossed, or maybe soles of the feet together, it's up to you. Sometimes it can be helpful to sit on a cushion. It helps support our spine. And if you're interested in leaning forward, then you're welcome to do that. I will time that for 2 minutes and maybe leaning forward. Perhaps that could be tucking your chin, maybe bringing your hands to your knees, perhaps leaning forward. If you're on a chair, you might have your legs extended or knees bent, maybe bringing your hands to your knees. If you like, leaning forward, perhaps tucking your chin, maybe bringing your hands down towards your feet. So no matter how you're seated, you're welcome to move in and out of the form. So maybe leaning forward and breathing. Perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. Maybe noticing that you're breathing, that your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it's always there. Then in your own time, maybe moving to upright, perhaps taking a breath. And then if you like, moving to explore some forms on your abdomen. So if you're seated, what you may like to do is possibly raising your arms. Maybe bringing a hand to your shoulder, perhaps moving your torso. If you're on your mat, maybe lying on your abdomen, perhaps extending your arms and breathing. So this is a yoga form. So if you like, you could stay in this form for 2 minutes. I will check the time and let you know when 2 minutes is up. So maybe extending your arms, perhaps resting your cheek on your mat and breathing. You might feel the sensation of your breath against your mat. At any time, you're welcome to turn your head in the opposite direction, maybe resting your other cheek on your mat. So if you like, extending your arms, maybe resting on your abdomen, perhaps bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground, maybe moving. Then if you're interested, maybe using your hands to move your torso back towards your ankles, maybe moving into a resting form, maybe into what we sometimes call child form. If you're seated, perhaps bringing your elbows to your knees and maybe bringing your forehead to rest on your hands and breathing. Noticing your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes, and it is always there. So the next form I'm going to offer is an opportunity to move your knees. So if you're seated, maybe bringing your hands to your knees, perhaps moving your knees from one side of your body to the other side of your body. You could do that individually or together, or maybe resting on one side. If you're on your mat, you may like to move your knees in whatever way you like. If you're interested, you could extend your arms and possibly dropping your knees to one side. And sometimes this could be where a cushion could be helpful. Maybe resting your knees on one side, and I will just time for a minute. So if you like, resting your knees on one side for a minute, maybe looking in the opposite direction and breathing. So if you like, you could be moving your knees or possibly resting your knees, maybe on a cushion, perhaps on one side, maybe holding for a minute and breathing. If you like, bring your awareness to notice that your breath is with you. It ebbs and flows, comes and goes. And do know you don't have to do what I say. So in your own time, you may like to lift your knees through your midline and perhaps bringing your knees to rest on your other side. If you like, maybe using a cushion to support your knees and breathing. And I will endeavour to time this for a minute. If you like, bringing your awareness to notice that your breath is with you. Maybe taking a breath. Perhaps noticing that you're breathing. Knowing at any time you can move in and out of the form. And that's about a minute, so maybe bringing your knees back to midline, perhaps lifting your feet off the ground, and if you like, maybe moving your knees from one side to your other side. So perhaps moving your knees and breathing. So that is the practice for today, and the next part is the opportunity for a resting form. So a resting form could be lying on your back or on your side with your legs on a chair or up on the wall. So finding a resting form that's useful for you. You may like to use a rug to cover you. And I'm going to offer a brief body scan exercise and then some silence and the opportunity for you to close your practice. So in your own time, maybe taking a breath. And if you like, bringing your awareness to notice where you make contact with the ground. As your breath comes again, you may want to bring your awareness to notice the support of the surface beneath you. If you want to follow my body scan exercise, you're welcome to do that. You're also welcome to tune my voice out. So if you like, bringing your awareness to notice sensation at your eyebrow center, sensation in your jaw, perhaps moving your jaw, sensation in the whole of your right arm, sensation in your jaw, sensation in the whole of your left arm, sensation in your jaw, sensation in your heart center, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your right leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in the whole of your left leg, sensation in your abdomen, sensation in your heart center, sensation in your neck, sensation at your eyebrow center, sensation in the whole of your body, sensation in your entire body, the whole of your body, all together. I'll offer some silence now, and then I'll ring the chime for an opportunity for you to close your practice. So do know there's no hurry to move. And you might like to take a moment to acknowledge your practice, maybe your intention, perhaps to nurture yourself, maybe to connect with yourself. So if you like taking a moment to acknowledge your practice, maybe it was to nurture yourself or connect with yourself. I would like to thank you for practicing with me. I do want to say, please send me feedback. I welcome that. And if you have hearing impaired or sight impaired, and you need me to be more explicit with my words or my movements, let me know. I want to thank you all for practicing with me. I also want to acknowledge two people who supported me in my early training, doing some yin practice, and that is Faye Windmill and Chris Crotty from Boston. So take care. I hope you're safe. I hope you're warm. I hope you're with the people that matter. Ara, Ara, Anui. always tricky stopping this